Congressional seat, Harris.
All right, Laura Ingle among our journalists covering the story today. Now let's go to my first guest. Great to see you. This person knows a thing or two about shocking the political world. Republican Congressman David Brat of Virginia scored his own stunning upset when he ousted then Majority Leader Eric Cantor 4 years ago. Congressman Brat joins us now. Always great to see you. The similarities, tell me about them.
Yeah, hey, Harris, great to be with you. Well, I always applaud the underdog. You got to love the underdog spirit. She was completely outfunded. That's great. She got around the district. That's great. But there are interesting. I was glad to hear her just saying, you know, not running on the crony, special interest, lobby money, all that. If she wasn't chosen by the machine, Hillary was chosen by the machine. Bernie wasn't. Bernie, and it was rigged against Bernie. So the underdog wins in this case. But it's interesting. She's against the crony class and lobbyists, et cetera. But she's a socialist. And that, I taught economics for 20 years, and so you give up one set of special interests for another. I mean, they want total control of the government, right? They want to socialize health care. Obamacare is, just steps on the way to you losing your freedom. And so I don't get that New Yorkers and that individual spirit up there is going for socialism and total government control. Someone's always in charge of the government, right? There's no utopian government in the Soviet Union or other communist socialist societies. Someone's in control, and there's always a crony network of who's friends with who, unfortunately, and that's why it never works anywhere it's been tried in the world. So some similarities, but major differences.
Well, and Congressman Brat, as you were going into office and beating Eric Cantor, there was this sort of thinking that, and you're talking about the groups that have the money to put you there. Inevitability is something that just really isn't popular with voters.
Yeah, unfortunately, the media, and I'm not talking about national, but the local media, some of these are shocks because the media doesn't cover candidates like Ms. Cortez. So it seems like a shock, whereas if the media was in touch with the people on certain issues, maybe they would know more. And so the press always comes to me, when are you starting your campaign and all this kind of thing. And they obviously don't know. I don't have a campaign season. I do the same thing all year round. I've met with 350 groups, Rotaries, church groups, kids groups. I was at the Chicken Festival last week. I'm going to the 4th of July parades this week. And so the voters know that. Back home, they know who's who and who's telling the truth and who keeps their promises on what they ran on. And so, I mean, that's the important thing for voters to just get to know your candidate personally.
So as you see the sort of insurgency now happening across the political aisle, because we've been talking about the party going left since Hillary Clinton was running, and you have the DNC postured against Bernie Sanders. In fact, former DNC head Debbie Wasserman Schultz asked what the takeaway is for House Democrats. Let's watch that real quickly.
Right.
Your folks can take you out as quick as they put you in, and, you can never take them for granted. And I'm not suggesting that Joe Crowley did whatsoever. He, as I said, is and was an excellent member of Congress. But, each of us has to make sure that we take every race as seriously as possible.
So no broader message about what the Democratic Party's message should be or who your leaders should be here in the House?
No, I don't take that message at all.
Earthquake inside the Democratic Party. That was the woman who reportedly worked against Bernie Sanders. And it favored Hillary Clinton to get out of that primary season. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they are having an earthquake. The Maxine Waters piece, et cetera, the anger of the progressives. I had town hall. They're all swearing during the prayer at my town hall. They've moved way left, right? JFK was a Massachusetts Democrat liberal in the old classical Democrat liberal, but he was proud of his Judeo-Christian tradition, his Catholic faith. He was strong on defense, strong on sovereignty. He was for tax cuts. I mean, what has happened to the Democrat Party when you have that move away from just an icon in JFK to what's going on now? It's an unrecognizable party in favor of socialism against private property rights. I mean, the young kids and a lot of people don't know what socialism is anymore because it's been so debunked by history. It's failed everywhere. But the left is just on a rant lately. And so that's what we got coming at us.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, I mean, you can look at the tests that the world is giving it around, Venezuela.
Right.
And we report all the time about people who are suffering there. I question with you the adherence to some of those political values that clearly are failing people. Let's talk, if we can, just a little bit, because we know that we've got an immigration vote coming up later today. This candidate who won, Ocasio Cortez, says that she wants to do away with ICE and she wants to focus in on those issues. What do you say about that?
I say it's incredible. I mean, to lose your sovereignty is to lose your nation if you don't have borders. She's in favor of socialism, et cetera. Guess where everybody's leaving? Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. Chuck Todd reported El Salvador. They had their war correspondent. These countries that mess with Marxism for 10 years, and then they say, well, we better go toward markets again because they work. And then they try Marxism again for 10 years and totally collapse. Well, they're the folks that are all coming up here for success, to a country that's steeped in being pro-business, free market. I ran on those images, right? I ran on James Madison, Adam Smith, free market economics, the things that have made this country great. They're running on the exact opposite, and they have no case studies. And in fact, if you look at the states, the blue states, all the folks are leaving blue states, moving into red states. In my state of Virginia, the blue counties are failing and going bankrupt, so they're moving into red counties, conservative counties that have the rule of law, fiscal responsibility, good governance. And so it's amazing. All the evidence is in for the American people to see, but the left is finally revealing themselves, right? They often run as they say, I'm a moderate, or I'm for national defense or whatever, and everybody knows that's not true anymore, right? So they've showed their stripes, and I don't think they're positive.
I'm going to step in with a quote from you, Representative Dave Bratt, the man who a lot of people are talking about today for ousting then Eric Cantor, who was atop your party in the House. You say Washington people remain in office, those leaders, when they lead and not decree. I add inevitability to that list. People don't like it, and you sometimes get the insurgency that you experienced and that we saw last night. Great to have you on the program on this big news day, and you're
always
part of it.
Great to be with you. Thank you, Harris. Thank you.
You're welcome. Meanwhile.